Hi everyone, I'm Jenna.
And I'm Steve.
And welcome to another Field Trip Friday. Today, we're visiting Locopops.
We're going to go inside, we're going to meet Summer Bicknell, the owner of Locopops, and we're going to learn a little bit about states of matter today. Let's go!
Hi!
Hey!
Welcome to Locopops. I'm Summer.
Hi Summer,
Hi,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So what is Locopops?
Locopops started 15 years ago as a really simple popsicle store. We still make popsicles. They're called paletas in Spanish. But we also offer ice cream and puzzles and games and lots of fun stuff.
That sounds so cool. Let's take a look around.
Yeah, let's take a look around.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So Summer, can you show us around your kitchen?
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So this is the most important person in the place. This is Betty. She is a popsicle machine from Brazil.
Hello,
She
Betty.
loves being in Durham.
Nice.
How cold does Betty get?
Betty can go all the way down to -20. Whoa.
Wow.
Which is really cold.
Yeah.
So after Betty has done her magic, we pull the molds out, set them right here, and then we have to use a little hot water to get them out of their molds because they're frozen hard. So shock them really quickly, and then we put them in a tub here to be bagged. After they're bagged, put them in a box, and we put them in our big walk-in freezer. Simple as that.
Cool. What are those things over there?
These is how we put sticks in popsicles. So we could stand over them and put them in one at a time, but that's really inefficient.
Yeah.
So this is kind of cool. Our sticks are aligned here with this little lid. Just locks them into place.
Whoa.
That is so cool. Woohoo!
Is that 30 right there?
28.
28.
28.
I know all the multiples of 28 now.
Good fast math.
That's right.
So now it's time for the experiment part of our Field Trip Friday. So we're super excited to be here down in the kitchen of Locopops with Summer. What are we doing? What's our experiment today?
So today we're playing around with how much sugar is too much sugar when it comes to freezing. We have 4 different solutions of sugar and water. The first has no sugar whatsoever. The second has 15% sugar. The third, 25% sugar. And the fourth is 35% sugar. And we're going to see whether or not they'll freeze it all, and if so, how long it takes them to freeze. The thing is, popsicles normally are about 15% sugar. So those two are going to behave really differently.
Oh,
Should we
that's
make a
cool.
hypothesis, Steve?
Yeah. I'm really curious. So I think, I have some experience with this, but I think that adding something to the water will probably change the way it freezes. And I think that sugar is probably harder to freeze. You're probably going to lower the freezing point or increase the amount of time it takes to freeze. So that's my hypothesis. I think that as we add more and more sugar, we're going to see longer and longer freezing times, and maybe you could adjust for that with like cooler and cooler temperatures.
Yeah, I was thinking if we add more sugar to water, then the water will take longer to freeze. So based on what we're doing today, I think these two will freeze, and these two might be a little slushy, or even not freeze at all.
I think that's a really great hypothesis. I'm super curious to see whether you're right.
Cool. So how do we get our solutions into these molds?
Awesome. It's really simple, but not exactly straightforward. So normally when you're pouring, you kind of pour around to make sure every cavity gets full. But in this case, you're going to want to pour in the very front and pour all the liquid in there, and then lift this a little bit so that gravity moves the solution down. The reason for that is that you're not always going to have precisely enough to fill every cavity. So you want to make sure that the popsicles you do make are full.
Yeah.
And the ones that you have a little bit too much little solution are at the very end, so you don't have to throw those away.
Cool.
Cool?
Yeah. Let's
Ready?
do it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's see you do it first, because I don't want to mess up.
Yeah,
So all the water's in it, and now we're just going to tilt it slightly. and try to make as many full as we can. It's kind of like Tetris, but with liquid.
I get it.
I like Tetris. There's a lot of finesse.
There we go. That's about it.
Okay, let's do it together.
Yeah.
Alright, so I got my 25%.
Got my 35.
I got my 15.
Alright, I'm going for it. Alright, so let's put it in the freezer.
Right?
Cool.
So you first?
Yep. I'm gonna go in.
And you can carry it by the little handle.
I'm gonna carry it by the little handle.
Oh, nice.
Cool, so now while we're waiting for our popsicles, let's talk a little bit more about the science behind these popsicles. So we had to freeze this water solution, but how cold do you have to get water to freeze it?
Water starts to freeze at 32 degrees, above zero. Everybody kind of knows that. You've all experienced that outside when you're hoping for a snow day and you're watching the temperature drop. But it just starts to freeze there. It takes a little while, and in order to freeze a popsicle, you really need to get it below zero. The reason for that is that it can't be running. You can't, it's all got to be solid.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, ice cream, it freezes more like -10 above zero. So there's a difference in freezing points for depending on the result that you want.
Nice.
Cool.
Absolutely. So if you don't have a lot of experience with kind of freezing, like what's wild about matter is it can exist in multiple different states.
That's
we call
right.
them states of matter. So you can have water, for example, can be a liquid, which is how we kind of work with it a lot in the world when we take a shower or a bath or swim or go to the lake or something. But then of course you can freeze it and it becomes like a solid. We call it a solid, like an ice cube or the surface of a frozen lake or something where like you might ice skate on. We don't have a lot of freezing lakes around here, but some folks might have experienced that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can also heat it up so much that it becomes a gas. And you can kind of see that happening, that phase change, when you boil water. You can actually move water from one state being a liquid into a gaseous state. And you can do the exact opposite, too. You can cool that gas down so it becomes a liquid, cool it down even further, and it becomes a solid.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Steve, because all that we're talking about is when we change between states of matter, we're changing the temperature. So when we're changing from liquid to solid, we're freezing, but when we change from solid to liquid, we're melting. But what about when liquid turns into a gas?
Oh, that's one of my favorite kind of transitions, just that in water, we typically call that boiling. One of my, another thing that you can do to get a gas to is like a special one where you can go directly from a solid to a gas. That's called sublimation.
Yeah.
And it happens in your freezer. You might notice like you just like your ice cube trays just like get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's sublimation. You're losing ice to water vapor even though it's super cold.
That is so cool. So we have our super scientific testing tools, also known as popsicle sticks, and we're gonna take a look at how frozen these things get.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how hard they are, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do 0 first. 0% sugar.
Ooh, you can hear that.
It's hard. I'm gonna pick it up. It's frozen.
Yeah. Let's see, 15. Whoa, that one broke. Go ahead. Fraction of that thing.
15% sugar.
Yeah, it feels a lot softer. You can see it, you can hear it. It sounds good. It doesn't make that kind of clicking sound that I heard your popsicle stick make on the.
Yeah, really easy.
Yeah, they kind of. I have a nice popsicle texture actually. Looks like.
Yeah, let me see this one. Can't break it.
It's
chilly.
Yeah, it's cold.
All right, 25% sugar.
25. Whoa,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's almost like a snow cone or something.
Yeah, I can like dig out a little piece onto my testing tool. Really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, now 35.
Definitely no clicking at all. It's
No.
like, whoa, it's almost like feels kind of like chocolate. Except
It's-
very, very cold.
Yeah, it's really squishy and malleable.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's really chilly.
Whoa.
So what can our friends at home do if they don't have Betty?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't have Betty, maybe you've got a freezer or you have access to somewhere where you can freeze something.
Thank you.
We kind of recommend that maybe you could try this with some paper cups. So I've just got some paper cups here, and I could use each one of these as a different concentration of sugar like we showed here. And so I could line up my cups, kind of like that. And I would want to label them so I know which one's which. And so this one would be maybe my 35%, and so I can do that. And then I put in my solution. And if you want to make it a little easier to get out of your cup, you can do it kind of like we did, where you just dump it out on something. But you could also, if you wanted, use a toothpick. And so I've just got a box of toothpicks, and you can just kind of put this in. And Summer, I think you mentioned something earlier about how it's kind of important when you're adding popsicle sticks by hand. With your system, you probably don't have to worry as much about this, but when people do this by hand, they have to choose the right moment to put their stick in, right? Or
Right. Because if you put it in a straight liquid, it just kind of flops around.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You do want to kind of keep your eye on it. When you see the center part start to come together, it's a good time to go and put your stick in.
that's
It
awesome.
also means it won't sink all the way to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, so you don't end up with kind of stick in your popsicle at the very top of your mouth. Yeah.
And if you might have trouble figuring out how much sugar to put in, another really cool way to do this experiment is to use soda. So to use regular soda and also diet soda, because those two different things have different amounts of sugar in them.
Yeah, one would essentially have no sugar and has some other artificial sweetener.
Exactly.
And then the other, and regular soda typically has a lot of sugar.
Yes. Yes. So kind of switching gears, Summer, what is a moment of curiosity that you've had when you're making these paletas?
I don't have moments of curiosity all the time. Mostly they involve being brave enough to open something and find out why it's not working.
Nice. Yeah.
Which is the way that curiosity really helps me as a business owner and in my just general life, is like not being afraid of finding out what's going wrong here and how to fix it. Sometimes I don't know how to fix it, but just figuring out what the cause is really helps me to know who to call.
Yeah.
Those are ways that curiosity really helps me in my job.
And that kind of goes into our next question, was about embracing failure.
Yeah.
When did you embrace failure when you were working here at Locopops?
So I have two good stories about failure. One was from when I was a third grader, and one is from making popsicles. So when I was in third grade, I had my first cookbook, and I was very excited to get up Saturday morning really early to make French toast for my family. And I thought I knew what I was doing, and it turned out beautifully, super perfectly brown.
Mm-hmm.
My sister took the first bite, and he made a face. That was ugly, and what it turned out happening was that I had gotten the wrong measurement for the salt, and instead of a quarter of a teaspoon, I had used a quarter of a cup.
Oh.
So it looked beautiful, it tasted horrible. And that's where I found out that paying close attention to recipes and using the right measuring tool were really important.
Yeah.
So that means you better cook, because that's the way you learn how to cook, is failing.
Yes.
And then pasta was one of the flavors that we tried that I was experimenting with kind of new ingredients. We were going to make a blueberry cinnamon flavor. So think about how blueberry and cinnamon work really well in pie.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what I was shooting for. But I had this new essential oil that was a food grade cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
cassia oil. And I thought this would be great because whenever you're dealing with liquids, if you can add flavoring that's also liquid, you get a better texture. So I thought that would be great. Instead of powdered cinnamon, I'll use this. Turns out that cassia oil is the same thing they use to make big red gum. And that's how they tasted. There was no, they were blue as could be, but you couldn't taste a single blueberry, but you could taste big red gum.
Wow.
And if you've never tried to freeze big red gum, it's not a good flavor. It's just not a good flavor. So those were one of the few flavors that we've ever made that just never even hit the floor. They went right in the trash.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Thanks, Summer, so much for having us here at Locopops today.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming by. This was great.
We learned so much today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd never seen that before.
Me either.
It's really
Pretty,
cool.
once again, science is delicious.
Mhm.
Science is delicious.
Absolutely.
Remember that for next week.
Yep. We'll meet more delicious folks.
Bye.